decisions on the alcohol level in the beer was determined before we even did our first batch. And that goes back to original gravity. We also had made a decision on the color. That color is directly related to the blend of pale malt and the roasted malts. And then with that roasted malt, you also have a flavor characteristic. And you can predetermine, you can get pretty damn close if you know what you're doing, and if you were well trained. And I had 2 master brewers as mentors before this process even started. They were with me when I was just organizing the company. So you've got alcohol levels, color, the degree of roastedness, so to speak. The hops were selected, and back then, selecting hops were it was pretty simplistic. The only hops that were available to us to purchase were the hops that the big brewers were using. There wasn't the marketplace then that exists today of where you can easily access hops from Europe or the United Kingdom. So all of these hops were domestic. So your options were very limited, but at the same time, you wanted to create something that was very unique. So all of this stuff had to be decided before you even started brewing.
Sure.
And once you get to that point, then you can start talking about a yeast strain. So a part of our test brewing was, we were able to purchase several yeast strains from a source in England. And in Norwich, there's the National Collection of Yeast Cultures, right? And this is a result of centuries old brewing laboratory in England, of where they were identifying and categorizing yeast strains that were predominantly ales. So we started out with about 6 different strains and did test brewing with those, and then reduced it down to 3, because as we studied the performance of the yeast, we're also deciding whether or not we had preferences with the flavor profile. As you remember, it's yeast that provides the character to the flavor of beer. It really has a definite impact or not so much of an impact. And we wanted to have that traditional flavor. So after we brought it down to 1 strain, then we spent another 3 months fine-tuning the formulation that we had started with 6 months previously. Including the final 3 strains of yeast on a commercial level, it was probably at least a dozen. And then when you hit on what you're happy with, and again, one of our principles is that we're not going to sell anything we don't enjoy ourselves. So that's that selfish, artful side of the business. Then we would brew enough to be able to be ready to get into the market and offer samples.